Computer Science. So we are recording now. Again, just asking everybody, first of all, welcome to AP Computer Science. Making sure that you have your webcams off and your microphones muted. Also make sure that you sign into the digital attendance sheet posted on the Google Classroom page, which is fantastic. All right, let's make sure I preview my projector. Again, just keep in mind that everything that you do is going to be recorded. So everything you say, everything you do, just be very mindful of that, as I will be as well. So let's present that to you. Take a look at this. Get ready. Get ready for it. I don't know if you're ready. I want this.
I'm absolutely ready.
You sure?
Yes.
Bam. Here we go. All right, so you should be able to see right now our little fantastic presentation, yes? You don't need that. Can everybody see? Everybody can see my screen, yes? You weren't ready. Well, now you can just see the thing, but there it is. Oh, now you can see a screen within a screen within a screen within a screen. It's pretty cool. All right, so fantastic. So, how do I want to do this now? I'm thinking, so I really wanted to project my screen to you because I think with AP Computer Science A, first of all, I want to talk to you today about a lot of changes to the AP exam that are impacted by the spread of COVID-19 and all of the current events that are going on. The AP exam has changed, so I want to make sure I go over that information with you. The second thing I want to do today is I really want to establish what's going to be the situation for this class. For being an AP class, we are pretty much at the end of our curriculum. We really had just about one more unit to go, but I'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into it. I want to talk about how that's going to impact our curriculum, what's going to be expected of you, and how we're really going to be operating going forward. So that's really my intent here with you guys today. One thing I want to show you first is the changes to the AP exam. So with all of this craziness going on right now, my primary concern for you is getting you ready for the AP Computer Science A exam. The AP Computer Science A exam is definitely looking a little different. And this is actually a page that you can access. It's a public page. It's looking a little different than in past years. Because of the fact that a lot of schools miss time and a lot of students are out and have these extended vacations, and it's different throughout the whole school year, pretty much what the College Board is doing is they're only including topics on the exam that most teachers and students have already covered by early March. For us, that's great because that's pretty much everything that we've already done. So if you notice here for the, where is it, AP Computer Science A, we are going to cover units 1 through 7 on the AP exam, and units 8 through 10 will not be featured on the AP Computer Science A exam. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, what the heck is unit 1 through 7 and what the heck is unit 8 through 10? Well, we do go a little differently than the actual AP curriculum is laid out for. I kind of just teach in a little bit of a different order. We definitely hit all of the same topics for sure. But I just want to show you. So what is going to be, sorry, I'm scrolling a little fast here. Here we are. But what is going to be on the AP exam is units 1 through 7. So this is everything that you should be prepared for when it comes time for our AP exam. That being primitive data types, objects, Boolean expressions, and if statements. That stuff is probably very, very familiar with everybody already. Iteration, that just means loops, for loops, while loops. Writing classes, so that's where you write your client programs to accomplish a specific goal. Arrays and array lists. What you will not have to worry about for the AP Computer Science A exam are 2D arrays, which I think is maybe a good thing for a lot of people because I think that's probably one of the more confusing topics that we talk about. Inheritance, which we were right in the middle of, is actually not going to be featured on the AP exam this year. And recursion, which we talked about a little earlier, is not going to be on the AP exam this year. So those are the changes just for this year. We're going to be focused on these 7 things. That being said, what I would like to do for this class, especially with the structure going forward, is I would like to have it be that on each of our virtual learning days that I'm going to give you probably about 5 multiple choice problems from each of these 7 topics, as well as 1 free response question. Those are going to come from, by the way, I thought I had it nearby, but I guess I don't. I have an AP Computer Science A textbook that I ordered. So they are going to come from, oh, here it is, right here. Right here. AP Computer Science A. So they are going to come right from here. This is a different edition than the one that I provided for you on Google Classroom, just by the way. If you are interested, though, that is one resource that I really wanted to bring up. There is the AP Computer Science A textbook, a digital version of it anyway, on Google Classroom. If you have not yet looked into that, it is a great time to do it. There's no better time than now to look into that AP Computer Science A textbook. It's an older version, so some things that are on the AP exam may have changed. If you notice that the book starts, this particularly happens in the later chapters, if you notice the book starts talking about something that you might be like, I really don't remember doing that in class, then most likely it is not on the AP exam any longer, but you can ask me any specific questions if you have those specific questions. A great example of that is interfaces. Interfaces were on the AP exam last year. A change this year is that interfaces are no longer covered. You may not even know what I mean when I'm saying interfaces, but that's okay. You don't need to. Essentially, it's just something that had to do with inheritance. It was sort of a little subtopic of inheritance, but not really relevant anymore, so we don't have to particularly worry about that at this time. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to do with you is, in addition to our little daily things, which these 30-minute periods I think are really just going to be go over the questions that I give you, go over the multiple choice questions, go over that free response question that I give you, as well as just checking in with you to see if you have any general questions. I don't plan on lecturing you during these periods because that's we've pretty much covered all that stuff already, which is kind of convenient for us. But the other thing that I wanted to assign you in the meantime is your final project. So if you're seeing up here, I do have your final project up here. I'm going to go ahead and load that up for you right now. I'm going to post this on Google Classroom probably at the end of the day today. I still have a couple classes to get through. So at the end of the day today, I'll go ahead and post this up on Google Classroom. But this is your final project for AP Computer Science A. Now, great. I should probably turn off Steam notifications. What if I'm projecting my screen? Working out the kinks. Working out the kinks. All right. So, in any case, I got just totally lost track. Oh, so for our final project in AP Computer Science A, it is a text-based adventure game. You will have to, you will have an extended amount of time to complete this. Yes, I know. Should block that. We have an extended amount of time to complete this. It will be due for you. I don't have a specific date yet, but it will be due at the end of May. So you have, okay, I understand you're playing Mortal Kombat 11. I understand. You do have 2 weeks to go ahead and complete this, or 2 months to complete this, which is a really generous amount of time. That being said, I expect a project that is indicative of that amount of time. So the fact that I'm giving you 2 months means that my expectations are pretty high for that 2 month span. If you took Java Programming Honors last year with me, which I know is some of you in here, it should be a very familiar sounding final project to you, which we kind of did the same thing last year in Java Honors, but definitely with more of a tempered expectation in that class, because that class definitely focuses more on the fundamentals versus a class like AP Computer Science A, which gets a lot more into objects and inheritance and the relationships between objects and whatnot. Although inheritance is no longer on the AP Computer Science A exam, it certainly is something that we've covered together, so I expect that you can make use of it in your text-based adventure game. Another thing, while I'm thinking about it, that we haven't covered in AP Computer Science A yet was our last math-esque unit on searching and sorting algorithms. I'm actually not sure. I know it's probably not great of me to not be sure, but I'm not sure whether or not that stuff is still featured on the AP exam. I don't know if it's on the other, if it's grouped in one of those other topics that were listed on the AP Computer Science A website. So I will get back to you on that. If it happens to be, then we'll spend some time talking about it. It's definitely a little bit mathy. It uses logarithms. For those of you taking pre-calc, you'll definitely have to review some logarithms in order to do it. But if it's not on the AP Computer Science A exam, then maybe I'll just give you those materials independently, and you wouldn't really have to worry about it officially. So for our final project, I will have you create a text-based adventure game. So it's a very open-ended project. You can work with a partner, and in fact, I encourage you to work with a partner rather than work solo. You certainly can work on your own. There's nothing wrong with working on your own, but it's a lot of work to work on your own. It may be just a big undertaking. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm fine with that, I just want to dive right in, then feel free to dive right in. I don't want to discourage you from working alone. If you just want to create your own game and just go crazy, feel free to do that. But I do recommend working with a partner if you want to sort of lighten the load a little bit. One thing I want to mention is even if you are working with a partner, this project is scored on individual effort. So it's not something that you could just have some partner of yours carry all the weight, because we encountered that problem in Java Honors a couple of years ago, where it was kind of a team-based. I was just like, oh, you'll receive one collective grade. And what happened was we had the classic group project idea of one student groups up with somebody who does all the work and that student does nothing, and they ended up with a good grade for not really doing anything. So it is going to be scored on individual effort. Just keep that in mind. If you are working with a partner, I do ask that you please kind of keep track of what each of you did in contributing towards the overall functionality of the game. You can do that via comments if you want. You can add a comment to say, like, this section was written by so-and-so, or this section was written by so-and-so, or you can just keep a running list in your heads or on paper if you'd like of what sections you worked on in particular and what sections other people worked on in particular. But in any case, here's what you'll be required to make. You'll start by making a player character. A player character should be represented by an object. Each game has to include these types of things. It should store all the data related to that player character in an object and refer to that object throughout the course of your program. You shouldn't have all that data randomly stored around. Remember, that was one of the key advantages of objects, is that they can be used towards, just organizing data and keeping all methods and stuff associated with that data in one spot. So you should definitely make sure to keep track of that. Your game should also have a clear objective, which is an apparent end goal that the player is working towards. They should not just randomly win or lose without being aware of what happened. So it should be very clear. Like, your objective is to defeat this monster, or your objective is to get out of a maze or solve a puzzle, or whatever it wants to be. There should be a narrative, which should be a detailed, though not necessarily complicated, keep that in mind, story that frames the context of the game's events. That could be simple, it could be complicated, it could be really whatever you want it to be, but there should be some reason why the events of the game are occurring. It shouldn't just be I'm randomly plopped down with a set of directions. There should be some sort of intelligent decision making on the part of the player, or you can make that on the part of any computer character if you want to try to program some sort of AI or some basic AI. Like, for example, if you have an enemy, say you do a classic sort of RPG style thing where you have an enemy and you're fighting an enemy, and you could code it such that when that enemy gets below 25% health, that they intuitively play more defensively. That's something that you could choose to do, and that would definitely qualify as intelligent decision making. They should be engaging choices, not obvious ones with consequences or rewards that the user must make along the way. If you're making a puzzle, then that is pretty self-explanatory, where obviously decisions that further solving the puzzle will help you, and decisions that go against solving the puzzle will hurt you. You should also have some sort of inventory or some sort of way to keep track of things that you've collected. Now, again, this could be in a traditional RPG role-playing game. It could be items, keys, or weapons. If you're doing more of a puzzle game, it could just be as complicated as wins and losses, or like a win streak or a high score or something like that. But you should be able to collect and keep track of some specific data along the way. You should also have some sort of encounter. Again, an encounter could be a combat, a puzzle, an obstacle, a riddle, anything that the player should be forced to interact with. Definitely have some clear win and loss conditions, and your program should not crash during play. Okay? Should not crash. We did not specifically talk about try-catch blocks in this class. If you want to implement try-catch blocks, that's just a way to prevent your program from crashing. For example, if you say enter a number and the user enters A, which is clearly not a number, that would normally cause your program to crash. You can use a try-catch block to prevent that. Since that is not within the scope of AP Computer Science A, I will not be specifically checking for whether or not those types of errors occur. But I'm just saying, in the general course of your program, you shouldn't encounter any bugs or issues, especially since you're having such a long time to be able to do it. Some optional things that I just came up with some brainstorming ideas. You can feature randomly generated elements if you desire. You can feature a high score. You can feature multiple endings, saving and loading, which is definitely a little difficult, but you can write to a text file and read from a text file to store different game states. You can have a title screen and music if you want. I am going to provide you with the code to make an image pop up on the screen, as well as music play and stop in the background if you so desire. Okay? So that's really the basic idea. These optional features are exactly that, though. They will neither hurt nor harm, or neither harm nor help your grade. You can choose to implement them if you want. You can also choose to ignore them if you want. Just some ideas as to some other things. So these are all the topics that we've really talked about throughout the course of the year. I'm definitely expecting to see that your game demonstrates an understanding of these topics. And that's really the primary way that it's going to be graded. Yes, your game should be fun. Yes, it should be engaging. Yes, it should be all of that. But by playing your game, which I'm definitely going to do, I may do it live if we're still in virtual learning. There definitely should be like a demonstration to me that you understand these topics. You don't have to necessarily include all of them. I know for some of you looking at this, you might be like, well, how the heck am I going to use recursion if I'm just doing a traditional RPG? But so that might not be suitable for your particular game. But you should definitely have something that demonstrates that you understand most of these topics in your game. And lastly, I have just a couple helpful hints for you down here, a couple tips. I think this is definitely true. The best games, often extending to those developed by major game studios, are ideas that are crafted around a single concept or idea. Especially with something like this, your brain might be going right now thinking like, oh my god, I'm going to make this fantastic game and it's going to be amazing. Listen, you're not trying to make the next Skyrim. You're not trying to make the next Call of Duty. You're not trying to make the next Animal Crossing. You can make something inspired by those games, but you're not trying to get something on that level. You're trying to make a very simple text-based game with some logic thrown in there, some intelligent decision making, but it's not going to be the next big AAA game to be featured on Steam that everyone's going to download. You can feel free to, after this class, take that idea and run with it and expand your knowledge and go forward from there. I'm not trying to discourage that in any way. I'm just saying scope is going to be particularly important. When I was in college, I took a class on artificial intelligence, and our final project was to create a game with some form of intelligent AI. We chose to make the game Battleship, and we would, like the classic board game, and we would have it so that the AI would adapt to your moves, and in successive games, they'd target those spaces earlier rather than later. And it actually worked out really great in that, you know, if you continue to place pieces in the top left corner of the board, the computer would become aware of that, and their probability to attack that space would increase over time, so that was kind of cool. But initially, when we went to design it, we were like, "Oh my God, we're gonna have like special ships, like submarines, and we're gonna have items that the player can pick up, and we're gonna have like a sonar system that can send out a radar pulse." None of those ideas made it into the game because it just takes too long to develop. The amount of time that you think you're going to need is far more than the amount of time that you will actually need. What I'm saying is that you might think you're going to have 2 months, you can make this amazing project. 1 month in, you might be like, oh man, I am nowhere near done, and we have half of our time left. So just keep that sense of scope in mind. It's nothing wrong with having a grand idea, but just be mindful of that. You may have to scale back. So I would recommend having some core thing as being like, this is the cornerstone of my game. This is what cannot be cut. Again, it could be as a traditional sci-fi adventure or a medieval style adventure. It could be like a competitive tic-tac-toe with an adaptive AI. That could certainly be a potential idea. We had people do murder mysteries in the past. That was pretty fun. I'm trying to think of some ideas from last year. We had a great game last year, actually, that someone made in Java Honors that was going through the school day and trying not to get kicked out of school. That was really fun. Trying to put in the minimum amount of work without getting in trouble. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. We had a couple other games that were definitely fun to play. There's nothing wrong with leaning more on the traditional side. A lot of people tend to just do like an RPG style thing, and that's totally fine. Not discouraging that in any way, but feel free to be creative. If you want to create a digital version of a board game, maybe you want to create blackjack or something like that. That's a great game. Some sort of poker game, a card game, it's really wide open. Connect 4, I think somebody did Connect 4 2 years ago. That was pretty cool because they used a 2D array to model Connect 4. That was really fun. Somebody tried to do, I think they ended up abandoning it, but somebody tried to do a slot machine. Not that we're encouraging gambling, but somebody did like 3 random symbols kind of line up and you get paid out according to what you bet. And like that was a really cool idea, especially when you get into more of a grid-based payout along diagonals or other angles. So that was cool. It definitely demonstrated 2D arrays, definitely demonstrated random generation and all that stuff. Let's see. Again, be creative, and your program should implement some, but not necessarily all, of the concepts we've covered. So that's what you guys will have in store for you for your final project. Again, I will post these instructions on Google Classroom. This is a 2-month-long thing till the end of the year. It is required by the College Board that we do some sort of project. We have a lot of flexibility as teachers as to what that project actually is, but some sort of project that encapsulates all of the skills that we've learned. And I found, I mean, at least I think that this is definitely one of the more engaging ones. There were some on the AP Computer Science Day website that I looked at and I was like, I'm not really a fan of that. But this one I think is really good. So that's pretty much all I got for you today, and that's really the expectation of our class going forward. So I'll open it up to some questions. Does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask concerning all of that stuff? Or any comments that you'd like to give? Sorry, Andrew, what's up?
The AP exam will have multiple choice on it?
Yes, the structure of the AP exam will still be the same. It'll still be multiple choice. It'll still be free response, but just the topics will be limited. So now your topics are really just looking at these 7 versus these 10. So this stuff at the bottom, 8, 9, and 10, is going to get cut out this year. But it will still be your multiple choice. It will still be free response.
Do we know how the test is going to be distributed this year?
That's a great question. As of right now, I don't know for sure. I do know that you will have... You will have the opportunity to take the AP Computer Science exam as well as your other AP exams if you're in other AP courses. You definitely will not be denied that opportunity. There was a lot of talk of, is that exam going to be administered at home? Like, you're just going to be able to sign in and it's going to be a time thing and it's just going to say, all right, you have an hour and a half starting now. I don't know what that's going to look like for sure.
They did post something on the AP website for, like, I know in Science Principles they got rid of multiple choice entirely.
Right, they did. For our purposes, I'm pretty sure it's still the same. Let me just go back to this. Exam question types. Yeah, so we still have the same exam question types. So it's still going to be your multiple choice and still going to be your free response. But yes, for some others, definitely got changed. So, like this one, Computer Science Principles. All right. Yeah, it looks like right here. Students can take a 45-minute online free response exam at home. Well, there you go. That looks like that's what we're gonna be going for. Looks like another thing too is that any student registered for an exam can choose to cancel at no charge. That's convenient. Usually there's a cancellation fee. So, any other questions, comments, concerns for me?
Can I make a dating sim for the game? I'm sorry.
You can make a dating. We had someone do that 2 years ago, actually, and it was actually really funny. They did a really, really great job with that. So sure.
Only partners. There can't be like 3 people.
Only partners, correct. Just because there's not enough work going around. Lauren, what's up? I think you're trying to ask a question.
Yeah, is there going to be practice for us to do for next class, or are we just working on this project?
Good question. Yes, for next class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some multiple choice and a free response question related to this first unit on primitive types. And then for the class after that, I'm going to post 5 multiple choice and a free response on objects, and then 1 on Boolean expressions and if statements, just so you can be ready for that AP exam. So I will post that on Classroom after all of the classes are done today. Does that sound good?
Mr. Giorgio, Connor says hi.
Oh, good. I'm happy. Hi, Connor. Good to see you.
Get
Get a little shout out. He was in our original AP Computer Science A class. He was a pioneer. He was a pioneer. So, very good. Any other questions, comments about this? Nothing? We're all good?
I think we're all good.
Okay. Again, feel free to partner up with whoever you want to partner up with. In fact, actually, what I should ask you to do is when you decide on a partner, please, one of you, email me and just say, for my final project, I'm working with so-and-so. All right? I don't think that's too unreasonable of a thing to ask. So when you decide on a partner that you want to work, or if you want to work alone, just email me that you're working alone. But do send me an email, just one of you. It doesn't have to be both of you. You can both send it if you want. But one of you just send me an email and just say, I'm working with so-and-so on this project. All right, fantastic.
All right.
Great. I think we got about 5 minutes to go. If anybody has any questions or comments to say, but that's all I got for you guys today. Just want to make sure everybody's up to speed on the AP exam and the final project and everything like that.
How is the video gonna like work when it's like uploaded?
This video right here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna upload it on YouTube, and so and then I'm gonna link it on Classroom.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you'll be able to watch it whenever you want. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Any questions, not just about AP Computer Science A, anything in general on the whole distance learning idea or the structure or anything like that? Be happy to address those questions.
It's gonna work.
Do I think it's going to work?
Yeah.
I think it has the potential to be effective. I think a lot of that effectiveness depends on student participation and work ethic, to be very honest. I think a lot of it falls on your shoulders, but I know from working with you all year that you are more than capable of doing it. So that's what I think. That's what I think. I'm certainly going to try my best to make it work as best I can. And I know your other teachers are all working very, very hard as well. All right, if there's nothing else, I guess I'm going to end the recording here and
Have a nice day.
be good for now.
Have a good day, Mr. Giorgio.
Thank you, you as well.